It's important for us to have an important conversation about sleep apnea and what it's really doing to your body. Because if we don't, you know, people just don't take this as seriously as they really should be. And you may be doing things, you're watching this video, you click this because your sleep is important to your health and your life. I get that. But a lot of times, after the curiosity fades, we kind of go back to our life because we don't know just how bad sleep apnea is. And it's taking away from not only the quality of our life, but also the years we have left. Because no one ever assumes that they're going to be the person that dies of a heart attack, that dies from a stroke. But the fact of the matter is, the research is really clear just how deadly sleep apnea is. So let's look at some numbers from the study where every day in the United States, 105 people per day die from sleep apnea and related conditions. So 33 die from a heart attack, 11 die from a stroke, 25 die from other things related to it, from cancer to crashing a car, and 36 are found dead in bed from suffocation. No joke here. And a lot of times people may think, oh, that's if you just don't treat it. But here's the thing. This is a study from JAMA, a notable, reputable journal here. And they found that use of a PAP or CPAP was not associated with reduced risk of cardiovascular outcomes. Recommendations for PAP therapy did not actually improve lifespan. So this is serious. And this is not meant to be a moment where like, oh my God, this is bad and do nothing about it. This is where we can look this problem dead in the eye and be able to more powerfully understand it. And with that fear, really have an amount of courage that allows us to take even more control and be able to really reclaim our life from sleep apnea, get the quality back, and have more years in our lives here. So this is a really important one. So this is a very important episode for us today on how to avoid an early death, live longer, and we're going to cover how exactly sleep apnea is deadly. A lot of people miss that. Number two is what is your expected life expectancy? We're actually going to roughly calculate that together here and how to add years back. Now, of course, this is for educational purposes only. Consult with your healthcare provider before making any changes to anything. And then don't forget to click subscribe. So, with sleep apnea, how does it steal years away from you here? Well, try to lighten things up with a little bit of double whammy talk here. Let's kind of bring it up here, okay? Take a breath. Take a breather here. I know it's serious. We're just gonna take a breath. We're gonna go through this. All right. All right. It's gonna be okay. Okay. Don't freak out, which is the worst way to not get someone to freak out. So double whammy. What's going on? Number one is your body cannot repair itself at night anymore. Think of your body like a car. Over time, you need to take it into the shop. That's what sleep is. You go into the shop, your body repairs itself, and it's doing a lot better the next morning. If you sleep well. You have bad sleep, obviously that's not happening. So you lose out on that aspect. And if you didn't have sleep apnea, let's say you just had insomnia, I don't mean to say just insomnia, it's also bad. You would lose this one aspect. But there's a reason people with sleep apnea die way sooner than people with insomnia. And that's because it's number two. You're actually causing more damage at night. So back to our car, not repairing it is not bringing it into the shop. Having more damage is you're taking your Honda Civic, which is a great car, I think, and you're taking it off-roading. You're driving in like big mud piles and stuff. You're going to cause damage to it. When you take your body out into the night or sleep, you're causing a ton of damage every single time that you stop breathing. So you see these dips in oxygen levels here. That's what these teal bars are. Every single time that goes on, that is causing massive damage, inflammation throughout your entire body here. And this inflammation is going to impact everything from your heart, your blood vessels, your fat cells, your liver, your brain. It just causes this fire effect throughout your entire body. And that's why when we look at sleep apnea, there are so many ways to die from this. Because yes, it is scary when you hear reports, and I've shown you a report that a lot of people do die suffocating at night from sleep apnea. Um, Obviously, that's very devastating. And that's easy to point and say that's from sleep apnea, but there's other things not everybody associates sleep apnea with. But it's as clear as day of the risk factors here. So whether a stroke, because either you have blood that easily clots, and your blood pressure is going way up, could cause a stroke. It can also be from you throw a clot because you may have AFib that develops because of sleep apnea. Your blood pressure goes up, you have a heart attack. Or your pancreas has a lot of inflammation in it, and that leads to diabetes, and diabetes goes downstream from there. And those are just like the major things in your body. And the other one is obviously, if you're not awake and you're behind a vehicle, that can be really bad. Because every single person who fell asleep at the wheel was always someone who before then did all the things to try to keep them awake. Chewing things, windows open, music, like, I've been there. I get it. That's coping and shouldn't be viewed as normal and healthy. So with this double whammy, that's why there's just so much damage. Now, what is your damage is the next big question, and we're actually going to quantify that. So let me explain what we're doing, and then we'll do it. If you have pen and paper, now will be the time to grab it. I'll remind you again in 30 seconds. But this is based off a few studies that I found of where they correlate and found in terms of these different factors we'll go over. We have a table we'll go over. How does that actually correlate to reducing your lifespan? So not only do they look at traditional medical comorbidities like heart disease or high blood pressure, but also they looked at quality of life, which is really important. That is the disease we first see before we have a disease inside our body. Let me explain. If you cannot like be productive, you're not focused, you're in a bad mood all the time, you're just like feeling like your life is not functioning as it should, that's a symptom of a underlying pathophysiology that's robbing you of energy, sleep apnea. So people who have worse quality of life with sleep apnea, they have worse sleep apnea and thus a shorter lifespan. So there's a more advanced equation that insurance adjusters will use. Those are the people who are deciding, if it's worth it for you to be in a policy based on your risk factors and all of that. But in terms of adjusting this equation so we can actually do it together, that's what I've done. So it'll be a little less accurate than bullseye, but still within a reasonable range. So if your number is a little off or even like negative, it's just because we're trying to apply something more sophisticated and easier to apply scenario here. So get your pen and paper ready. Just get pen and paper. This is going to be some mental math here. So what we're going to do, we're going to start at the average life expectancy of someone who is at least 40 years old right now. Yeah, I couldn't find 30 years old, and I thought that'd be probably too low for the main audience that I have. So if you're 35, sorry, this will be a little bit inaccurate for you. And you're going to start at your baseline life expectancy. Men, it's 83. Women, it's 86. And then we're going to subtract from that and be able to see how many years. So the first number we're going to establish is how many years left you have right now. So let's make it super easy. Let's say you're 50 years old. You would take 83 and subtract 50 from it. That would be 33 years left if you're a man. And then for women, 86 minus 50, 36. So you have that number, write it down on like one side of the paper, and then write it down on the other side of the paper as well. And just to make it easy. So right on the left, and then right on the right, and then we're going to subtract for the number on the right. So what did I say for men here? We got 33 here. So we're working with 33. That's our number. And then we're going to go through this chart and just subtract numbers from that. So first we're going to focus on what kind of sleep apnea do you have? So it's by categories, mild, moderate, and severe, and also treated and untreated. Now let me clarify. If you are using a CPAP, but you are still very exhausted and sleeping poorly, yes, you are receiving treatment, but physiologically, you're on treated sleep apnea. Very important distinction, because if you have severe sleep apnea and you're on a CPAP, but it's not working, it almost doesn't matter. You still have severe untreated sleep apnea. A very important distinction. So if you're symptomatic, we're gonna look over here. Let me draw. That was awful. This is why I don't draw many episodes anymore. Because you guys make fun of me too much. So if you know your stage of sleep apnea, mild, moderate, severe, and then find your number. So probably most of you are around 5. So we had that example earlier. We were at 33. I'm going to write it down on a piece of paper. And then now I'm going to put 5, well, really -5 beneath that. All right. Now, next category. And this is if you have sleep apnea, but you're feeling relatively okay. You're feeling good. You're feeling groovy. Your CPAP, your mouth guard, your whatever, it's helping you. Even if it doesn't necessarily reduce all of the risk. So find your number in here. All right. Okay. If you need to pause the video, like zoom in and see the things, go ahead and do that. All right. Now we're going to move to these comorbidities here. So the biggest ones are heart disease, diabetes, and obesity. obesity. So let's say I have diabetes and I have obesity as well. So I'd put -5, -3. So put what you have here. And I should clarify, heart disease, this also includes hypertension. If you are taking medication to reduce the risk, I didn't factor that in. But if you're having high cholesterol, you're having hypertension, I mean, maybe you already had heart surgery, you would take that on. Diabetes, and again, I know untreated is here again, but if you're taking insulin and medications, but your A1C is still elevated in a very problematic range, physiologically you're untreated. You had diabetes and were brought back to a normal healthy range, you got good blood sugar levels, then don't count this. And then obesity is pretty straightforward. So I got my tally here. Next would be smoking. I don't smoke. So if you smoke at all, I know it says regularly, but if you smoke at all, cigars don't count, cigarettes. Next are going to be some smaller contributions with quality of life. So for me, I'll go through this. So poor productivity, yeah, I'm going to pick that one. Unstable mood, sure, I'm going to pick that one as well. Low on purpose, no, I got purpose. But if you're feeling like you go through your days, you don't have much to look forward to, it's not necessarily depression, but having really, you feel like you're not moving towards anything. That's low on purpose. That's actually from that research. Poor relationships, like you can't communicate well, you don't have like a good partner relationship or good family relationships, or maybe you're in isolation a lot. That'd be negative too. And then another big one is unable to do the wants of life, like go on the hike or clean the garage. Well, I guess that's questionable. Nothing says exciting like a clean garage, right? I'll go ahead and circle that one. So I'm going to add those to my tally. -1, -2, -2. All right. Now, I'm going to subtract things here. I'm going to get my handy dandy calculator. So remember, I started out with 33 years remaining. I was a 50-year-old man. We're going to subtract things here. So I lost 5 years, and then I lost another 5 years, and then I lost 3 years, and then 1, then 2, then 2. Hit enter. So instead of having 33 years left, now I have 15 years left. Statistically, that is a good assumption of the lifespan reduction. If we want to do that, so our old lifespan was down here, and then how many years did we lose? Well, I got down to 15, so I guess we technically lost. So we lost 18 years there. We lost 18 years of lifespan. So that can seem far off. But again, when you're, let's see, when I am 15 years, so that's someone who's at 50 and they only get to 65. Okay, a lot of different ways to look at all those numbers here. So just for examples here, again, I guess this was the example that I just did. I put in some different numbers than this one. I made myself a smoker here. Imagine that. Yep, so those are the main things here. So like this guy, if he's smoking, so if you're untreated, that's losing 24 years, only 9 years left. So gonna die at 59 here. Now, of course, this isn't perfect to the dot. I mean, honestly, I'll probably put a factor of ±5 on this. That would probably be very healthy. That's basically it. Or same thing here with a bit older. These are both men, by the way. Remember, ladies, you're 86. Okay. So that's how that is here. And the other thing I want to highlight, and then don't worry, we're going to talk about like not only ways to help with sleep apnea, but also things to improve your longevity. The other big thing I want to talk about here is this concept of health span, which is different than lifespan. So lifespan is what we just talked about. But the thing is, if you're struggling with sleep apnea and health issues, do you think you're going to be like a Viking warrior doing crazy things, hiking and everything else, all the way till you're like 72, 75, and then just drop dead. No, those years leading up to it are going to be very low quality, exceedingly low quality. That is known as health span. The amount of time in your life where you have a good, functioning, happy, healthy life. Now, how things are shaking out is that someone's health span is pretty much eroded, usually around 5 to 10 years prior to their health span. So, men, typical life expectancy beyond 40 years old, 83. Health span, let's just knock 10 years off of that. Say at 73, that's when things are like, it's hard to get around. It's hard to do things. You need help with things. Health span will shrink even more. Usually like maybe another 5 years or so. So let's say you're going to make it to, what do we say? Where are we making it to here? So we think about health span with this person. Let's say, let's give them a lot of good air. Let's say they're going to make it till 64. Be alive to 64. Probably their health span will deteriorate to a point of where it's very hard to function, like have a meaningful, happy life at like 54, about 10 years prior. So I know some of these things can seem far off, but the thing is, the problems with our health span and lifespan aren't in those years. They're starting now of the quiet life that you have around you. Because if sleep apnea is still going on, it's not going to get much better. So that's why I want to be able to kind of lift this up here a little bit and be able to talk about how to get both those back, the health span and the lifespan, and really focus on ways, yes, get the sleep better, and then those other factors too that will help longevity health and turn this all around. And one of the things, and the research isn't out on this yet, but people who subscribe to this channel also statistically live longer. Now, I really don't think that's true, but I'm just trying to lighten the mood here. Oh, what we've been talking about, because I know we've done math and also talked about death. We got to change it up here because both of those are very daunting things to talk about. So, we want to stay up to date on more tips and things that are way more uplifting than this. Well, we're about to be very uplifting, okay? Usually we keep things a lot more light, fun, exciting, uh, but we want to have a realistic, very real conversation today. But for more things that are awesome, make sure you click that button underneath the video, or if you're on your Roku thingy, press the up button, and then I think my face pops up, and then you do that. So that'll allow you to subscribe. So how to live longer. Obviously, fixing the sleep will come a long, long way. So with sleep apnea, all hinges around fast, irregular inhale, causing the collapse of weak, floppy muscles. So those weak, floppy muscles get stuck together. You can't breathe. Not fun. Not cool. We want to slow this down with breathing, the inhale at night. We want to strengthen those muscles. So how do we do that? Great. Glad you asked. So one of the exercises that I've been sharing that I think is a good starting ground is something that allows you to have some of the myofunctional component, but also have an idea of how these breathing exercises can progress. Because the breathing exercises are kind of like a couch to a 5K program. For those not familiar, it's a program that if you're not a runner, you want to run a 5K in a month or whatever, it's a progression of where maybe on day one you run like a quarter mile, day two a half mile, and you build your way up. The point being is that if you're training for a 5K and you're at zero, the first day of training is not running a 5K. And then conversely, towards the end of the program, you're not doing the things in the beginning. So progression is really important. So to give you a taste of that is the following exercise. Okay. I'll write it out on a sticky note. Well, right there, it's on a sticky note. So we're going to talk about the breathing progression and with the proper tongue movement. So let's do the tongue first. Pretty easy. So it's on the roof of the mouth here. Very weird angle, right? What you're going to be doing is just suctioning it up to the roof of your mouth. So you'll see this like tongue rope is what I call it. That's a sign you're doing it right. This is not doing it ideally. Not there. It's that. All right. If you do that, you can like click from the suction. And an easier way is maybe you think you got some peanut butter middle of the roof of your mouth. Suction against that, push forward, and then that can do it. So that's the tongue position you're in. And that's what you're actually going to hold during this exercise here. So the exercise itself is actually the ladder here. And what it's going to be is as follows. So you're going to start, we'll just do it together. So you're going to breathe continuously through your nose, in and out. I will be counting like this: 4, 3, 2, 1. And I will sound like I have this fragmented breathing because I do, because I'm counting for you. You should have a slow, steady inhale. All right. So what you're going to do is as follows. So 4 in, 3, 2, 1, and then 4 out. 4, 3, 2, 1, and then 4 in, 4, 3, 2, 1, and then 6 out. 6, 5, 3, 2, 1. 4 in, 3, 2, 1, and then 8 out. 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And you're going to keep progressing. Now, how you go from there, like as you get up to 12, which may be difficult, it's up to you what you want to do. Again, all about finding a good progression based for you on your needs. You may do 4 in, you may just cycle like 4 in, 4 out, then just progress like this, and then just restart the ladder. Because sometimes it gets a little hard at 4 in, 12 out. You may be getting a little out of breath. We don't want to maintain that. You can go to something a little bit easier. You just go through like that. Or maybe you find that doing 4 in, 10 out is a good steady eddy for you. Or maybe you cycle between 6, 8, and 10 because 4 is just a joke and 12 is way too hard. You could also do that. You could also progress all the way just doing 4 in, 12 out and just doing that. So many different ways to do this. Find what works for you because there's a lot of different breathing exercises. There's not one size fits all. And the more you can tailor what you're doing for yourself based on where your body's at right now, just like the couch to 5K concept, the better progression you'll have, easier, less frustrating. And while you're doing it again, you keep that tongue in that position because then it'll tighten up, be less likely to fall back. So do that for about 10 minutes within 1 hour of going to bed. That's the breathing part. So longevity wise, we got a lot of things here. So I wanted to provide some research on this. Well, I pulled this from the research. I'm not going to break down 10 research studies for you that just tell you to eat healthy. Okay. But point being is, I know there's a lot of like longevity influencers, which I find really odd because none of them are like really old. You ever find that weird? It's like some guy who's like 50 telling you how to be like, I want someone who's like 95 telling me how to live a long time. Regardless, some of the top things here, and I'll put a lot of this in the guide, some of the more specifics around this on what's been shown research-wise to be helpful with longevity, but some highlights, right? Regular exercise, being able to eat a low inflammation diet from whole foods instead of processed food. That'd be a fun food store, right? Like processed foods, like you can open up like a junk food store across the street from Whole Foods. That would be diabolical, kind of funny too, but don't do it. Caloric restriction up there, obviously not smoking. Some other big ones, alcohol intake. If you are struggling with your sleep, sorry, just stop drinking until you fix it. And some other things, again, I'll have tips for each of these. I just don't want to overwhelm you with 90,000 things. Managing stress, doing gratitudes, being in a more positive state, having strong social connections, all things that are going to be some of the most important things to drive longevity. I know number 10 is like these anti-aging things, but honestly, the basics have been shown to be so important, more important than some fancy supplement or anything like that. So the more you get these down, it may be boring. It may feel like you're living in the 1800s. That's kind of the idea of where you have a lifestyle that supports your health and physiology so that when you're doing things like fixing your sleep, it's going to be that much easier. So again, not to bore you and you can actually pick out some things you want to do, I'll have that in the guide for you, the longevity and sleep apnea guide. Well, I already told you what's in that. And of course, if you also want to be able to have a more streamlined way of determining a better starting point of breathing exercises and also additional myofunctional, right, tongue, airway, etc. exercises, so you can more tailor that to your needs to make faster progress. That's what the Sleep Apnea Reset Protocol Workshop is all about. So that will also be available for you. And of course, how to get either one of them It is in the description box, which you may need to click the title underneath this video. You get the links for either of those. And then, of course, there's a button for the sleep apnea reset protocol beneath everything. And of course, got two URLs for you. So for the longevity guide, go to ochnow.com/longevity or scan the QR code because you're technologically advanced. For the sleep apnea reset workshop, you can get it at ochnow.com/reset or scan the QR code. Either way, thank you for watching. I know this is a little heavier than usual, but being able to have a good grip on that is very important. You may have a number, right? It's not going to be the most accurate thing. But at the end of the day, the whole point of this was to be able to have a realistic look, your life, big picture, healthspan, big picture, so you can start to take little steps today that make a big difference down the road. So with that, thanks for watching. I'm Dr. Dylan Peckus, and I'll see you soon.